Hey, how's it going? Today we are going to be talking about brake parts cleaner. And I'm really doing this because I've seen a lot of videos out there, and they're pretty much all the stuff you can get from the box stores. And in reality, how many of us are really going to those type of stores anymore? We're all buying stuff online, and the biggest place to really go is Amazon. And there's a lot of products here that I have not seen reviews on. I'm all about going to like a local mom and pop type of a shop and buying stuff, but they're not really a thing anymore, unfortunately. So today we're going to be reviewing all of these brake part cleaners here. There's a total of 13. We have Pry-Oil, Johnson's, Max, which is Napa's brand, Valvoline, PB Blaster, 3M, Kraken, Gunk, CRC, Champion, CarQuest, Sperryman's, K&N. Not all these were bought from Amazon. Some of these I did go to the box stores, but just to give you an example, there's not a lot of choices there. For instance, at Lowe's, they only had CRC. At Home Depot, they only had the PB Blaster brand. Car part stores had some more. That's where I ended up getting Champion, CarQuest. They also had Gunk, but I already had this one. Everything else was all Amazon, and some of these brands, are really well-known brands, but you just don't see them anywhere. Like 3M, I had no idea they made this type of product. This Kraken brand I've seen a lot of stuff for, but it was all spray foam. So there's a lot of brands here. I'm really curious to see how they do and perform. First test here, what we're gonna do is I have just plain old all-purpose grease, put it in a cup. We're just gonna spray our cleaner in their own cup, and we're gonna let it sit for about half an hour and just see, how well is it going to break our grease down. On brakes, there is a lot of dirt and grime that builds up on them, but this is the most multi-purpose spray. You see people use it for everything. It's probably least used on brakes. It's something you use on anything that needs to get cleaned. I have even used it in place of starter fluid. So there's really not much you can't use this for. So there's gonna be multiple types of testings we're gonna try, but this is our first one. So let's get all set up and we'll start spraying in each of our cups. All right, our cups are all set up. We'll just start left to right and start filling them up. Now I'm not filling these cups full, but I want to make sure there is at least a good, I'd say about a 1/4 inch in that cup. So I'm going to try and fill them all right around the same. So far, I'm just noticing that this Max brand is really hard to spray without going, it wants to just go all the way 100% as hard as it can, so it's kind of hard to spray it. And then also, right away, this is Johnson's, and this is non-chlorinated. I don't know if you can see, it's already distorted the inside of this cup from just where it was sprayed. And it made it really dry and brittle. That has not happened on the others. This Max brand just gave like a oily residue, which is probably from the reaction with the plastic. And the Pry-Oil doesn't look like it's done anything to the cup. So that's just instant things I've noticed. The Valvoline has very good control over spraying it, and right away it's marking up the inside of this cup just like the Johnson. Same thing with the Blaster brand. It just doesn't work well with the plastic. which is not like I'm trying to save these, they're all garbage, but if you were spraying this on something that was a plastic, just know it could ruin the look. And on all these newer cars, they're nothing but plastic, so really keep that in mind if you're going to be spraying these around something that is plastic that you do care about. So far the 3M sprayed the best. And again, it didn't leave the fog. Well, it's kind of starting to fog now, but it definitely melted the plastic. This Kraken now has the best control over the spray. Hardly made any splatter or a mess. I could really control how the spray was going into this cup. I see no marking on the cup yet. So this gunk instantly put a crack all the way up this cup. I don't even know if this cup is going to hold for this whole test. CRC slightly melted the inside of our plastic cup, but didn't really fog it up. Sprayed half decent, did not crack the cup. Champion, the cup's fogging right away. Definitely has melted the plastic. Not very good control over the spray. This is CarQuest. Inside of the plastic is melted. Not really any fogging happening yet. Decent control over spraying. This is Berryman. And it melted inside the plastic. It's beginning to fog. Not as bad as some of the others that have fogged. Spraying was okay. Now last, this is K&N, which I did not know they made a parts cleaner either. So right off the bat, it sprays excellent. I would say it's either in second or third. I think the Kraken, as far as the spray, how it comes out, was doing the best. Definitely fogged and melted. Most of the fog is where I sprayed it on the cup, and the other areas are just kind of where it splattered. But right off the bat, let's start over here on the left and just kind of see what is happening right now. We're going to let this all sit for about half an hour, and then we'll come back and check how it has affected our cups, how it has worked on dissolving our grease in there. So we'll start where we start. All right, it has been about half an hour since we put all of our brake cleaner in each of these cups. So again, we'll start left to right. I'm going to dump them out, and we'll just kind of poke around and see how well it dissolved our grease that was in there. So first is the Pry oil, and really doesn't look like it's done anything. The brake clean, you know, turned a blue, but that's really about it. I'm not even going to dump this out. I don't see a reason for it. The oil looks to be completely intact. Next is the Johnson's brand. Same thing. It looked like it started breaking the grease down a little bit. It has changed the very outer edges of the grease to a slightly cloudy color blue. But again, outside of that, it doesn't really look like it's done anything to the pile of grease. The Max now. The Max ate the entire bottom of the cup. All the grease and everything's on the table here. So definitely Max was not a fan of the plastic, or the plastic wasn't really a fan of Max. But it doesn't really look like it broke our grease down at all. Just made a mess. Valvoline, same thing. The brake clean has turned a blue. The very outer edges of our grease, started getting a cloudy color. So it started breaking it down, but that's it. Blaster brand, same thing as all the rest. Just a little bit of a cloudy color on our edges, and that's just where it started breaking it down. But not much of anything there. 3M. This one's definitely the darkest blue as far as what our brake clean has turned. It's definitely penetrated the grease a little more, not much. The Kraken. The Kraken's actually might have done the best so far. It looks like it has the deepest amount of penetration on our oil or our grease. So I would say Kraken right now is in first, then probably 3M is second. This is Gunk. Surprised Gunk did not melt the plastic like our Max, because when I sprayed the Gunk in this, it instantly cracked my cup all the way down to the bottom, but it hasn't done anything. This is the brake clean in the cup has barely turned blue at all. It's a very slight tint. So the Gunk has really done nothing. The CRC, again, ate the entire bottom of the cup away. And it's all just on the table here. But again, there's no cloudiness to this. It doesn't look like it has done anything to our grease. Champion. It started getting at the grease like pretty much our first, like our Pri-Oil, our Johnson, the Valvoline, the PB Blaster, like they're all pretty much tied for third. They're all really performing the same. Next is Champion. CarQuest. CarQuest also ate the bottom of our cup. That's gone. And as far as the grease that's left on the table here, it doesn't look like it has done anything. And that could just be because since it ate the bottom of our cups out, it probably didn't get to sit in it as much, because it just all ran out the cup on the table here. This is Berryman. This is starting to eat the cup away. As you see, I'm trying to pull it, and it's just, there we go. That's what's left of this one. Slightly, it was eating at the grease on this one here, but still not really much at all. And then this is the K&N. K&N, it stayed in the cup. It doesn't really look like it did anything to the grease slightly. So I'm going to clean this mess up, and then we have a few other tests we're going to start, and we'll go from there. All right, so this test here, I have wheel nuts and vacuum hose. It's not fuel hose. And the wheel nuts here are brand new. There's nothing special about these. And really, what this is really to see is, again, these are used mostly on our vehicles. So I just want to see how these products react to our wheel nuts, as far as eating this paint coat it has on it, and then if it gets through that coat, what it does to the metal itself. And then for our hose here, again, there's lots of rubbers and plastics on all vehicles. So I just want to see how it would eat away at this, or if there's any discoloration, just to have an idea of how it can affect these parts. Because again, these products are used on vehicles and all kinds of other stuff, and you might not be using it directly on a material that is like this, but they do make a lot of splatter when you spray on something, so it's very possible to get that on other parts. So I already sprayed the Pri-Oil, and instantly it started taking some of the coloring off of our wheel nut here. Same thing with our Johnsons. Not as much. This is not quite as dark as that one. and it has done nothing yet to the rubber hoses. I also double cupped all of these because of last time. It's still going to eat the first cup, I'd imagine, the ones that did, but I'm hoping I don't have to clean up a mess this time. So I'm just going to work my way down, spray each of these, get about a 1/4 inch or so in each cup, and I'll give you my thoughts as we are going to each one. The Max doesn't seem like it's really taking the coating off of our wheel nut right away, like the other two did so far, so that's a plus. The Valvoline did take some of the coating off of our wheel nut. I would say the equivalent of Johnson, not as much as Pry-Oil did. Pry-Oil. This is the blaster. And I can see right away as I'm spraying this blaster on the wheel nut, it's taking it off. And I would say that is definitely more than the others. It's probably the worst one so far. 3M is next. Same thing with the 3M. It took a lot of the coloring off, and these all spray clear. When these are in every cup empty, this stuff is clear. It doesn't matter which brand it is, they're all clear. So it's very easy to see which one is doing what. So the 3M is probably the worst so far as the spray, and it's instantly. As soon as you spray it on these wheel nuts, it's instantly. And this is really interesting. So this is the Kraken, and it did not take any of our coloring off. Now, this is the 3M, which I just did, and you can see how dark that is. And again, so far, none of them have done anything to our rubber hoses as far as what I can see in our fluid. They all look the same. This is the gunk. I'm not really impressed with this gunk so far at all, just the way it sprays, how it works. Again, it has made our fluid in our wheel nut very dark already. One thing about the gunk I do like is it smells nice, so that's a plus. This is a CRC. So the CRC did a pretty good job overall so far. It hasn't really taken the coating off of the wheel nuts like the others. So next we have Champion. And right away, Champion has taken some of the coating off of the wheel nut, just like plenty others. The vacuum line is still fine. Now we have CarQuest. So far, CarQuest has not taken any of the coloring off, it looks. It's looking pretty clear. Maybe a slight, yeah, there's a slight tint to it. Not that much, though. Now is Berryman. And this has taken the coloring off as well. It's pretty dark. Again, just like the others. Now this one, though, for our vacuum line, the fluid is not clear. It's definitely foggy, and that's right away. That's the only one that has done anything with the vacuum line, with the initial spray. Now we have K&N. And then same thing with the wheel nut. K&N has taken some of that coating off, making it a dark color already, and the vacuum line's fine. So we're gonna let this all sit for, all right, it has been about half an hour since we have done our testing for our wheel nuts and our vacuum hoses. Now this one is Pry-Oil, which we've been starting with. And you can see it is, well, actually, let's just take it out. It's eaten some of the coating off, but that's really about all it did. You know, it's not like it was dirty to start with. Same thing with this. It yellowed up our fluid in there, but our rubber's pretty solid still overall, so that's pretty decent. The Johnson, again, it took some of our coating on the outside off, but that's about all. And then same thing, it yellowed up the fluid for our vacuum line. The outside of this is kind of fallen apart a little, but it's still pretty hard. The Max, it didn't really take much of our coating off of this as the others. And then same with now, well, that's actually, so this has really gelled up in here. I almost don't even want to touch that. The hose itself seems okay, but the fluid in that cup really gelled up. All right, this is Valvoline. And again, it took a bit of our coating off, but that's about it. Now this one here for the vacuum line is definitely our most tinted color yet. And it definitely ate some of our rubber off, as you can see it down there. It still feels solid though. It does not feel really like rubbery or anything. It's still pretty hard, so not too bad, I would say. Now it's Blaster, and again, you know, it took some of our coating off, but that's really all I see. And then same thing with the hoses. Little bit of rubber down there, not really much. Overall, it seems fine still. 3M, again, took some of our coating off. That's about it. Now this one for a rubber hose seems to be the best one. Not a lot of discoloration, a little bit. This is Kraken. And actually Kraken I think has done the, I mean, depending on what you want from this test. If you don't want it taking anything off of these products or hurting these products, I would say this one has done the best. This literally seems to be the same. You can see it's totally clear. Now it definitely burned. I do have like some cuts on my hands, and so take that for what it is worth. The hose feels fine. It's definitely the hardest one. It's like a rock. I've had this hose for quite a while, and you can see it's nice and clear. So overall, if you want something that's not going to hurt other type of materials around the spray, I would say so far Kraken is the best. And I would probably have to say the worst as of right now is probably our Valvoline, as far as how it is affecting the products. This has affected the product the most with the two products we have here, and the Kraken has affected it the least so far. All right, now we have Gunk. The Gunk melted the cup some. Again, probably the same as a lot of the others. It took a lot. It took some of the coating off. It yelled up our cup here that has our vacuum line in it. You know, still hard, slightly softer than what it originally was. CRC melted the cup. Actually, melted through 2 cups. That's the only one so far that has melted through 2 cups. They're all double cupped, and that's the only one. Didn't really take much of this coating off. So, I mean, that's good, I suppose. And it's about to melt through this. I can't even grab that vacuum line out because of all the melted plastic in there, but it doesn't really seem like it affected that one as much either. And it's probably about to melt through this second cup for the vacuum line as well. Now we have our Champion. And again, took off, you know, our coating. This one almost looks like it took off the most, but it's really hard to tell. And then the vacuum line, you know, they're all kind of performing the same. You really just have 2 that are standing out the most, I would say, so far. This is CarQuest. Didn't really take much off of this at all. So that's nice. Same thing with the line. Now it is eating through our cups. So it's not a fan of plastic, but it didn't take any of the coating off of our wheel nut or our vacuum line. Now we have our Berryman. This one went through both cups. I mean, destroyed both cups. So that one definitely did a a number on the cups. And oh yeah, I just picked up the vacuum line cup and it did the same thing. Sorry for my poor camera handling here. But you can see it took off some of our coating from our wheel nut there. Nothing really appears to be from our vacuum line, but again, did not like going in plastic. This is by far the worst one so far, is the Berryman's as far as that goes. Now this is our K&N, and the wheel nut here, again, about the same. It takes off some of our coating. Same thing with a rubber hose. It yellowishes up our liquid in there, but the hose is still pretty good shape. Did not eat through our cups, it seems like. I can't really get this one off. Maybe it started eating through our second cup here, but this cup, it did not. It doesn't seem like it ate through that one. So, my opinion on this is if you want something that's not going to affect a product or has, least chance of affecting a product, right now I'm saying Kraken is the way to go. I'm very happy with how that product has worked overall so far. Now, if you want something that maybe does affect the product, this Valvoline affected it the most. Now, when you spray stuff on the product, it's not going to do this instantly, potentially, but maybe it could. It just depends on what it is. We actually have another test coming up here where we're going to spray a panel of metal that is painted, and we'll see how each of these products affect that. And you can see I have a bunch of other products in the corner here and a bunch more on the way for more testing on different types of